We've all been there, right? That moment when everything shifts, whether it's at work or in our personal lives. And let's be honest, change can feel like a total emotional roller coaster. Well, today, we're going to unpack that roller coaster and give you a powerful map to navigate it. It's called the J-curve.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into why change, even good change, feels so hard. Then, I'll introduce you to this fantastic model, the J-curve. We'll look at why so many change efforts totally fail, and then we'll uncover a much better way forward, before bringing it all back home to see how this plays out in your own life.
All right, let's start with the big question. Why is it that even a positive change, like getting a promotion, can sometimes leave us feeling, anxious or unsettled? It turns out it's not really about the change itself. It's about what our brain feels like it's losing.
So what's really going on in our heads? Well, we're social creatures, and our brains are literally wired to see any big change as a potential threat to a few really fundamental human needs.
And it pretty much boils down to these three things. First, certainty, our need to feel like we know what's coming next. Then there's status, our sense of where we fit in the pecking order. And finally, control, that feeling that we have a say in what happens. When change shows up, it feels like it pulls the rug out from under all three, and our brain flags that as a major, major loss.
Now, this feeling of loss, it isn't random. Nope, it follows a really predictable pattern, an emotional journey that we can actually map out. And that map is called the J-curve. The J-curve basically shows us that emotional dip we all take before we can climb back up and really start to thrive in a new situation. It gives us a framework, a common language, to understand this universal path we all travel during a big transition.
Think of the journey like running the bases on a baseball field. First base is denial. This can't be happening. Then you get to second base, which is resistance. I hate this and I'm not doing it. Third base is when you start having to go. You're trying it out, experimenting. And finally, you make it to fourth base, where the new way becomes just the go. It's not new anymore, it's just how things are done.
Okay, so if this path is so predictable, why on earth do change efforts at work fail so often? Well, it usually comes down to how it's led. Let's look at two classic and deeply flawed ways of doing things.
You've probably seen both of these in action. First, there's the red bus. This is the top-down, my way or the highway leader who drives change at people. Then, you've got the green bus. This is the victim mentality, where everyone feels powerless, like change is just something that happens to them.
And here's the critical part. Here's why they fail. The red bus approach, by dictating everything, completely robs people of their sense of control and status. And what does that do? It sends them straight to second base and fuels massive resistance. The green bus, on the other hand, keeps everyone stuck at first base in denial, just hoping it'll all go away if they ignore it.
But thankfully, there is a much better way. It's an approach that works with the J-curve instead of fighting against it. And we call this the blue bus.
The blue bus mindset changes everything with this one simple idea. Change isn't something done to people, like the red bus, and it's not something that just happens to us, like the green bus. It is something that we do together.
And this right here is the secret sauce. If that dip in the J-curve is caused by feeling a loss, the blue bus flips the script. It focuses on intentionally creating gains in those exact same areas: certainty, status, and control. It's a total game changer. And here's how you actually do it. It's so practical. You create a gain in certainty just by explaining the why behind the change. You build a gain in status by genuinely listening to people's ideas, which makes them feel valued. And crucially, you create a gain in control by letting people own the how. You give them the autonomy to figure out the best way to do their work.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What's in the toolkit for actually moving through these four bases? How do we navigate this journey without getting stuck?
To get through the toughest part of the curve, denial and resistance, you need something called the Stockdale paradox. It's this powerful duality. On one hand, you have to confront the brutal, honest facts of your situation. No sugarcoating. That's what breaks you out of denial. But at the exact same time, you have to hold on to an unwavering faith that you will get through it. That belief is what gives you the fuel to overcome resistance.
So here's the whole playbook. First base, face the uncomfortable truths. Second base, stop worrying about everything else and just focus on what you can actually control. For third base, it's all about practice, 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 and creating a safe space to fail and learn. And once you get to fourth base, you just work on embedding those new habits so they stick.
So how do you know if this is actually working? Well, you just have to listen. Listen to the language people are using. When you start hearing things like, I feel valued here, that's a gain in status. Okay, I get why we're doing this. That's certainty. And I'm trusted to make my own decisions. Boom, that's control. That is what successful change sounds like.
And listen, this isn't just some corporate model for business. The J-curve is a map of a deeply human experience. It applies to every single major change we faced in our personal lives, too. I mean, think about getting married. It's a beautiful, wonderful choice, full of joy. But it also means you have to process the loss of the total certainty and control you had in your single life. You and your partner have to go through a J-curve together to find your new normal.
Or what about starting a completely new career? It's so exciting. But it also means giving up the status and comfort of your old job where you were the expert. You have to go through that dip of feeling like you don't know anything again. That's another J-curve.
And maybe the biggest one of all, having a child. Even when it's something you want more than anything, it forces you to process the very real loss of your old identity, your old schedule, your old sense of control. The love is incredible, but the change is absolutely massive.
So here's the bottom line. Processing a sense of loss is a totally natural and necessary part of all change, even the really good stuff that we choose for ourselves. And allowing ourselves and the people around us the grace and space to move through that J-curve, well, that's not just nice, it's absolutely essential for moving forward.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. A new project at work, a shift in a relationship, a personal goal you're working on, take a second and ask yourself, where in your life are you on the J-curve right now? Because just knowing where you are on the map can make all the difference in the world.